Hi guys, welcome to my channel of IGCSE Economics. I'm Kyle, and in today's video, I'm going to make a step-by-step tutorial about how do we answer Paper 2, which is Section A, Data Response Questions. And in specific, the question that I'm going to be doing is relationship analysis, which is, for example, the question like E, analyze something that I've just copied from a past paper. And actually, these are the questions that will appear frequently or 100% in any of the exams, because these questions are not really that hard, and if you follow this tutorial, it is easy for you to surely get a 4 or 5 or 6 depending on what marks is assigned. So what in specific is the tutorial? Now, here is basically the structure that it's going to be looking. Now, the first step whenever we're doing this type of question is that we want to state the relationship of the two factors given at the beginning of the question. Well, all you have to do is it a negative relationship or is it a positive one? And you basically just put as constant A varies. For example, as constant A increases, constant B would decrease. That's something that you can actually be awarded a mark for. And the second step we got to do is we want to give the highest value, and the third step is the lowest value. So these actually gives the range of these factors. And the fourth step is we want to give a 2 or 3 sentence of analysis of why is this relationship, right? So it's not long, but it will give you marks. And the fifth one, just the last one, is we want to give the outliers that does not really fit into the general pattern. Now let's use this past paper question that I copy paste from a website to better exemplify our tutorial here. So the question that we're going to be focusing on is question E, which is to analyze the relationship between the percentage of the labor force employed in agriculture and GDP per head. So the keyword here is the percentage of labor force employed in agriculture and GDP per head. And always, when we're doing this type of questions, always go back to the graph or the table or anything of the picture given to compare these two sets of data. So according to our tutorial, the first step that we're going to do is we want to state the relationship between these two factors. So now the first sentence that we write is that these two factors present a positive relationship, right? So we want to give another sentence to explain when one factor varies, what's going to be the other vary of the other factor. So here we write the countries with a higher percentage of labor force in agriculture tend to have a lower GDP per head. Right, so that's our first step done. Now the second step is we want to give the extreme values, which is namely step 2 and 3. But yeah, so let's look at the graph. Now, here we can see that in the graph, Bahamas is the country that has the lowest percentage labor force employed in agriculture, which is 3%, and it also has the highest GDP per head. Now, the country that theoretically has the highest labor force percentage is Dominica, but we see that it is not the lowest country with GDP per head, so it's an outlier, so we don't include it. So we want to find the second to smallest labor force, which is Nicaragua. We see that it has 31% and lowest GDP per head. So these are the two extremist values that we want to include as shown over here. Let's highlight these. So this is step 2, Bahama, that we're describing. We can take a look at this. And we have Nicaragua, which has the highest percentage of labor force employed. So the fourth step is we want to give couple of sentences to explain why is such relationship presented, right? So why is it presented? Now, as more people are involved in agriculture, which is the primary sector, wages may be low in agriculture because it is largely based on physical work and it can be easily replaced by machines. So relatively, the bargaining power of the employers in this sector is actually weak, so they have to accept lower wages, so then they have lower GDP per head, right? Also, the value added tend to be higher in secondary and tertiary sector. The last step in our tutorial is we want to name any outlier in the graph. So here, obviously, the outlier is Dominica with highest labor force in agriculture, which is 40%, but it is the second to last GDP per head. So, we want to give another sentence to explain why is such an outlier like this. Now, this is because the factors of GDP per head is not solely based on the percentage of labor force involved in agriculture. So the values or the factors like population size can also affect GDP per head, because if you have a large percentage of population, it can really make your dividend really, really big, which causes your GDP per head really small, or vice versa. A quick recap. Firstly, we give the relationship over here, and secondly, we give the extreme value. Here you have the highest and lowest. And fourthly, we give a brief explanation of why such relationship is demonstrated. And lastly, we give the outlier and one sentence to explain why such outlier is presented. And this type of answer can assure that you get a full mark, whether it's 4 points or 5 points or 6 points. If you follow the tutorial, I'll make sure that you get a full point on this question